Okay, welcome back. It's the end of our show, and at the end of each and every show, I give you my one for the road. And as Mosse alluded to earlier in the show, I wanted to kind of talk about this U.S.-Mexico rivalry, what it is, and maybe what it isn't. But I know you had something that you wanted to set this up with.
Yeah, I mean, the furor in the internet had just died down from your MLS mid-table comments, and then you hit everybody with U.S.-Mexico is the greatest international soccer rivalry, which is something you've said before.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody agrees. Here's Max Brados chiming in on that. We have to retire the debate on whether USA-Mexico is the best rivalry in soccer. It's a special matchup, but the percentage of Americans who care about the sport here disqualifies it.
I love Max. I disagree that first off, I disagree that it disqualifies it. You may think that there are others that are better, but I don't think it disqualifies it. I actually think that when you're talking about this, and I'll reiterate why I think it's the best in the world. So first off, there is a history. There is this pendulum that goes back and forth. And while we may find ourselves in this, it's not rarefied air because it has swung back and forth before, but in this moment of incredibly positive play on the field and obviously results, it can very easily swing back. As a matter of fact, we used to talk about the gap and the gap widening and closing when it comes to Mexico. And notwithstanding what Mosse said earlier in the show about what the mentality of Mexico, especially relative to Liga MX and Europe, don't think for a second that this can't change, and this can't change very, 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 very quickly. But when you look at this rivalry, obviously the proximity of our two nations, obviously the history that we have, not just when it comes to on the field, but off the field, the history that we have, the intersection and the threads that go between these two countries and cultures, and how much we are influenced and we are affected in the things that we do from a day-to-day basis, whether it is our language. You joked earlier about the change in culture and the change in language relative to the English language here in the United States, whether it is our politics. Each and every day, there is something political that you can reference relative to the country of Mexico and the United States. Whether it is our culture when it comes to entertainment and music and movies, and the list goes on and on and on. And then obviously when it comes to sport and this back and forth, and that's why I think it is the best. I know Max doesn't have a purity test or a passion test when it comes to fans and cultures out there, because I would put up Mexican fans or U.S. men's national team's fans with the best, whatever his best are in the world. Now, if it's all about size, and Max, you should know it's not just about size, but if it is all about size, then fine. If it's about actual passion, if it's about history, it's about intensity, if it's about this pendulum that swings back and forth, it's about excitement, all of these different things, I absolutely think that U.S.-Mexico is number one around the world. And there are others, and it's arguable, and I can certainly be convinced, but just because the U.S. has now dominated for a period of time, I don't think you throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to the greatest rivalry in the world, which I still think, Max Bretos, and to anybody else out there, is USA-Mexico.
Can I push back on that a little bit? I agree with you. The social, cultural, political elements of it elevate it. But in a discussion about the best soccer rivalry, the soccer has to count for something.
Why?
And you're talking about two middling nations that have never come close to winning a World Cup, while Brazil and Argentina are two Mount Rushmore footballing nations that have combined to win 8 World Cups, Pelé, Maradona, etc. It would be like me saying Fenerbahce Galatasaray is a greater rivalry than Real Madrid Barcelona because of the cultural components of it. It's a bit of a stretch to me.
Yeah, okay. I understand what you're saying, but I don't just because they have a longer history or they have been better on the field from a soccer playing perspective doesn't disqualify the U.S. from providing incredible moments. That's like saying that an artist who's been around and had 10 platinum albums, all right, that a song from somebody who just came out with their first album can't be equally as good as anything that has happened in that 10-year or that 10-album existence catalog.
So your contention is that in the year 2024, a U.S.-Mexico game is a bigger occasion than a Brazil-Argentina match when you take all the different factors into account.
Yeah, I think for U.S.-Mexico fans, It is. Now, for the greater country, and especially when it comes to the United States involved, I will readily admit that there are other countries that game resonates and permeates through the country and culture much more so than this one does here. But for American soccer fans and Mexican soccer fans, this is everything. It obviously it's bragging rights, but again, it goes into all of the different things and all of the different connections that we have and continue to have.
It would be like comparing a dinky rivalry like USC, UCLA to Michigan, Ohio State. It doesn't work.
Oh, of course. Listen to you. All right, listen, well, let us know. You can agree or certainly disagree, and let us know. And maybe we'll have some answers when it comes to either social media responses or our State of the Union podcast hotline. Anything before we go, my friend?
Yeah, I just want to sneak in one last thing. We've given shout outs on this pod to Max Bredos, Chris Whittingham, Tony Miola. I do want to shout out Eric Winolda. They put out a clip of my Berhalter comments. People were arguing about it, and he came in and said, this is actually a really good take by Mosse, and that lent some credibility and weight to it. So I appreciate it.
I think he also said, my guy, right? He loves you.
That's right.
Well, I mean, what's not to love? You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.